Moving forward, we have yet another interesting panel discussion on Open Innovation Playbook, making organization ready for effective collaboration. To take forward with this wonderful panel discussion, I would love to request the moderator, Mr. Ram Kumar M., the Deputy Director of NASSCOM, to kindly please decorate the dais, along with the panelist, Mr. Balaji Narasimhan, the Delivery Head, TransUnion Global Technology Center, LLP, and Mr. Chulanga Perera, the Chief Transformation Officer and Head of Strategy, Daimler India Commercial Vehicle Private Limited. Delegates, please put your hands together for the next set of panel discussionists. Over to the panel.
Good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to be in the midst of eminent audience and the interesting mix of speakers this morning. I'm Ram Kumar from NASSCOM 10,000 Startups, an initiative to nurture these startups across the country. So just to set the context, the NASSCOM Industry Partnership Program, so we work closely with the corporates and we created this open innovation report in such a way that to support these corporates to take them through the journey of open innovation. So as part of it, we came up with lots of findings, interesting findings, and we were able to do a lot of roundtables across the country to identify what next in open innovation. So these gave us a lot of insights, and these insights are now part of a panel discussion as well. So interestingly, innovation has always been the vital focus area for all the corporates, on all the stakeholders. And moreover, it's not just about the development of new products and solutions, but it's all about the type of collaborations that we are making. With more than 500 plus collaborations across the country, India is still nascent in the open innovation concept, and we have moved a long way in the open innovation. So to discuss more about this open innovation, I've got two eminent leaders from the industry who have been practicing open innovation in their respective organizations. So Mr. Balaji Narasimhan, who is the delivery head for TransUnion, and Mr. Chulanga Perera, who is the CTO and head of strategy at Daimler Commercial Vehicles. So to start with, so Chulanga, why don't you start with what is the open innovation for you and how relevant is it in today's scenario? And do you have a structured program in your organization?
Thanks, Ram. First of all, yes, we do have a structured program, and it was, for us, very important to understand why is it that we innovate, especially when it comes to commercial vehicles and having products out in the market. Our aspiration is to keep the world moving, for all those who keep the world moving, to support them and to ensure our customers are successful. However, the rapid pace at which innovation is happening, for a large organization like Daimler, it becomes very, very difficult to keep up with innovation because we always have our set of agendas, our product life cycles, everything that we have to do. However, we are like a large ship. For a speedboat, it's a lot easier to maneuver and turn. And therefore, for us, it was very important that we look at collaboration models. And before we look at collaboration models, it was very important to build a culture of innovation within the organization to help people understand that it doesn't have to be one specific department or one individual. Innovation can come from anywhere, within the organization or outside the organization. And as you can see, there's a clear trend where organizations are partnering. Tech firms are partnering with OEMs or manufacturing organizations and etc. And startups are coming up very, very fast in terms of bringing innovation to the market. And therefore, in order for survival and sustenance, and in order to grow and also face the lot of setbacks that we see ahead of us, we saw how the pandemic came, and this might probably not be the only setback that we as humanity face in the future. To tackle that, open innovation is needed. And at Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, we did a couple of things since you asked about the program. First, we created a culture of entrepreneurship. That means if internally within the organization, if someone wants to create or engage in innovation, we give them the platform. Most of the times, organizations don't have platforms, or the visibility is not there. Or you suppress them by saying, okay, no, this is your expected task, just do that. However, we've created innovation labs, we've created platforms where anybody can come and innovate, and if they require funding, if they require support outside, we have mechanisms to do that. Second, we started partnering with universities. A lot of the students, the younger generation of this country, there's an abundance of talent. and it would be an absolute waste if we don't tap into it. So we're partnering with a lot of universities. Then bodies like NASSCOM, we are a strategic partner with them where we are trying to see how best we can co-create on an open platform on open innovation. And last but not the least, very recently, we opened a joint incubation cell with IIT Madras. The purpose is, as a part of CSR, we want to help any and all startups in the space of mobility innovate and go out and become a prominent organization in the future, because we bring in a lot of know-how, and we felt it is best that we give something back to society and the nation. So that's, in a way, how we are approaching open innovation around.
Thank you, Chulanga. Balaji.
Yeah, just to add on, I think very similar. A problem cannot be solved by a specific company alone. A time is such that things have to be done through collaboration only. If you look even at TransUnion, we have a specific innovation lab where any customer or any aspiring startup across the world, we have in many cities, where people can go in, work on our data models, sit with the scientists, data scientists, and work with them on data models and come up with new set of products or new set of solutions, sitting in person with them. So collaboration is the key. I think Ram pointed out, and Chulanga also pointed out. Collaboration is the key, and I think that's what is driving this open innovation. Because at the end, business needs two things. They want a quicker time to market, a reduced time to market, and they also need their products and services to be high category delivered in the market, either product or services. Most times they are stifled by, say, the speed with which technology operates. So the best way to do this, internally everything cannot be done. Best way to do is to collaborate with, say, startups, as Chulanga mentioned, and the external agencies to get, external entities to get this done quicker. I would just like to point two things here. One thing is, like, if you look at the current trend also, like the most revolutionary fintech thing that happened, at least in the last few years, is UPI. If you look at it, it's an open innovation again, where anyone can leverage the payment system the government has provided for the entire country, and now it's in fact adapted by other foreign entities also, where you can innovate quickly and you see a mushrooming of products, and UPI almost like becoming the de facto fintech product in the last few years. So that's an example of open innovation.
Thank you. Chulanga, you spoke about the various ways that you're working with. Would you like to shed some light on the various engagement models that you follow, and as well as on being an early adopter, what are the challenges that you faced?
Maybe I'll start with the challenges and then speak about the engagement model. The challenges is always that if you don't have the right processes, open innovation can be extremely dangerous. You need to have controls, because there's got to be a right balance of understanding and doing things a certain way. Just because you want to be faster and you want to collaborate, you should not lose momentum or the USP you have in terms of being a product or whatever services that you are offering. So for us, it was figuring out, let innovation come from anywhere, but how do we curtail that? How do we govern that was very important. Second is the mindset shift. In an organization, management buy-in is very, very important, and that was very, very evident when you look through the industry. And for us, it was more about us as the top management understanding the need of open innovation, understanding what tools and equipments are required in order to have the best open innovation culture built up, and overcoming these. So once this is there, then it's a matter of learning from the initial start. So what we said is, we might not get everything right in the first go. And we had similar experiences when Daimler as an organization looked at open source, for example. We were never accustomed to developing our products using open source platforms. No? So all in all, we had to make sure that as a traditional OEM, these challenges we identify well in advance, understand the risks, and figure out how do we mitigate. But also at the same time, knowing that failure is going to be a part of it, let's go ahead with it is what we thought. The engagement models are, we're not limited, Ram. I mean, anybody who wants to work, who believes that Daimler as an organization can help them advance their products and share knowledge, I think we are ready for that, because we are very, very cognizant of the fact that we can't do everything by ourselves. So we really need each and every one. It doesn't matter whether it's a small organization or a large organization. We come with that open mindset, and that's how we want to engage with all bodies.
Great. Thank you, Chulanga. In fact, that's so encouraging for any startup to hear. So Balaji, I understand that you are quite in the nascent stage of adopting to these, but in general, whatever you see in the society, so what do you think as a challenge in any of the organizations adopting to open innovation?
One of the biggest challenges is the IP. Like there is always a fear that once we open up the innovation, like our IP may not be protected. That is one challenge. And also the culture of innovation. I think there is an inherent thing to keep things to one organization's own self. I think once we have the culture of innovation, I think even Chulanga pointed out, like we have to build that culture of innovation within the organization. Then we'll be, once we have the internal culture built in, then we'll be able to externally look in for a collaboration and will be more open for this kind of innovation. So those are the two challenges if you ask me.
Great, thank you. Chulanga, this is specifically for you. So would you like to quote some of the success stories, whatever you have come through in collaboration with any startup or with academia?
Specifically, just before the pandemic, with some of the universities, we were able to develop a lot of models. And I can talk about one. We are working very heavily with a lot of universities on autonomous, specifically for image recognition. And I think in India, you have not only the cost arbitrage, but you also have now the skill arbitrage coming into play, and therefore we found it extremely useful to collaborate with universities because it did two things. One, we were able to bring frugal innovation. We were able to use the best-in-class technology. And three, we were able to attract new talent because by the time we were able to hire some of the top-notch talent that was available in these universities that already worked with us. So specifically on autonomous, and this is a project we ran across the world, not only out of India, with our colleagues in US, in Germany, Brazil, and Japan, and that was very successful. The second one we just started. We have now 3 startups that we are incubating. We have 17 more slots available with IIT Madras Incubation Cell. That is working out very, very well for us. And also looking forward to how we can work with NASSCOM and the 10,000 startups.
In fact, we have started this journey. Balaji, so what is the role that the leadership in building this open innovation in an organization with various challenges that we face? It can be internal, or it can be the global mandate, whatever we have, or in the ways that we work with the startups. So what's the role of leadership?
I think the biggest role for leadership, again, is to build that culture, the culture of innovation. First, the culture has to start within the company for innovating, like where they build a culture for openness within the organization to build up innovation. Once that culture sets in internally, then I think it automatically, the company should be more open to work with external people also. I think that culture is the main thing which leadership has to handle.
Chulanga, any thoughts on this?
No, absolutely. I think I second what Balaji said. So.
Okay. So, Chulanga, why don't you start now on any of the best practices that you have followed during this open innovation process, or any of the corporates that who are trying to adopt to this open innovation? Any best practices that you want to share?
At least for us, the only one practice we said is we are not going to limit ourselves to where we want to innovate. There is a common mindset or a trap that you can fall into if you are, for example, for us, we are an automotive company. Should we only innovate around that area? And that is not the case for us. Because in the future, in order for us to sustainably grow, our products today might not be our products 10 or 15 years from now. Regulations that are there today might not be the same regulations. Services are growing. Mobility is becoming a service. And it's inevitable. And in order for you to embrace that, specifically towards the vehicles, you know, it's more software driven than anything else today. And therefore, we wanted to make sure that we don't have any limitations or restrictions. That we say we only innovate in the mobility space. We are looking at supply chain efficiencies. We're looking at deep tech. We're looking at any and all ways in which we can expand our horizon. So that is the only mantra we follow, where we said, let's not limit ourselves, because that could become a massive drawback or a recipe for disaster if we go down that route. So that's what we follow.
Yeah. So Balaji, you are one of the, you're a recent adopter and you are going through this particular phase. And you being one of the, a BFSI, you have lots of compliances as well. So taking into consideration, so what are the things that you are following in your organization when you're trying to adopt this open innovation?
a few best practices maybe I can point out just to add to what Chalunga said. So first thing is like, as I said, building the culture. One example from one of my organization I worked in the past, they used to keep innovation contest once in 6 months, identify the top person with the business idea, and they even went to NASSCOM to ring a bell. So that was to foster a culture of innovation. The second thing, what you try to do externally, I think you have to practice it internally. So we have something called even a gig job, okay, where anyone can post any of the problems in within our organization. Anyone can pick and solve the problem. Once you set this culture internally, then as I mentioned again, I'm beating the same point. Then anyone can pick up that problem, solve it for any other business or individual who raised that problem. Once we set that culture in, then automatically you start looking at external entities to collaborate. And third point I would like to add on the best practice, like again, we have to tap into the right, we cannot build every capability on our own. I'll state a specific example. If you look at one of the collaboration that we did with a satellite company called SatSure. So that was a satellite company that specializes in a startup that provides data on agriculture. So we have now collaborated with them to create something called CCFR, or Civil Credit Farming Report. So in this way, like by taking the best practice of bringing innovation in, we are able to collaborate with someone, bring some products which are really innovative quicker to the market. So these are the things. So first, again, to summarize the three best practices, first get the innovation done internally, create the culture of innovation, and third, instead of trying to do everything with your own capability, collaborate with partners to get the products rolled out quicker. So these are the three things I can call out, Ram.
Sure. Chulanga, coming back to you. So we see a lot of incubators and accelerators across the country, and a lot of ecosystem partners coming up with. So they are the enablers for this open innovation. So how do you find the culture, and what motivates you as well to work on this open innovation culture?
I think the cultural aspect is the most difficult to tackle. I'll take an example of developing a product. For us, we have a very standard, structured, and well tested methodology with which we develop our products. If you look at startups, they're very, very fast. Their decision making is so fast, which helps them take decisions very quickly, fail, learn fast, and then move on. So their cycles are much, much faster. However, what they do tend to not have is, let's say, for example, if they want to develop a prototype, the supplier base. If they want to test something, they don't have testing facilities. The experience, the pitfalls that they should consider before venturing out. The quality methodologies that an organization like Daimler emphasizes on. So these are things that we see we have to always tackle. And that is why we also said, just because everyone is getting into incubators and accelerators, should we get in? And we pondered about this a lot. And for me, I said, we are not doing it because everyone else is doing it. We are going to do it because we believe we bring value to any startup that wants to venture out. It might not necessarily be just funding. It could be the experience. It could be the global reach. We have our network in more than 172 countries. So if they want to take a startup from here to the next level, that could be one area where we could help them. So we saw that aspect coming in very, very prominently when we ventured out around.
Balaji, any thoughts from you?
No, I think I concur with him. I think specifically with the current scenario, I think the way the culture has spread across, just 2 points I'd like to highlight. One, on the private side, India is almost like third in terms of, along with US and China, for the startup ecosystem. And if you look at government also, they are pushing in UPI, they are pushing in ONDC. So this seems to be the right time for any company on the fence to start getting into the innovation culture, because this is a twin engine which many countries in the world doesn't even have, like where both the private and the government is pushing for acceleration in innovation. So I think that the base is set. I think everyone should start joining the culture to reap the benefits across.
Great. So on domain specific now, Chalunga, just we see a lot of EV startups coming up, and we have mobility itself is moving up in a large manner. So what do you feel? I mean, how are the startups, whomever you're working with, so how far are they adopting to these technologies, to any of these deep technologies? And are they sufficing whatever requirements that a larger corporate needs?
That's a very interesting question, Ram, and I'll try to answer this in the best politically correct way as possible. Um, in terms of a lot of the EV startups, I think they're doing a tremendous job. I think there's huge potential in terms of the engineering landscape that we see in India and what India can do. And they might not thrive the same way in most countries. And what I've seen in Europe, even in countries like China and Japan, it's not as advanced as we are in India. Now, the limitation will be, India is a large country. The reach and the scalability is not going to happen that easily. No? So you can have a product, but for a customer, you have to start thinking along those lines. Every time we buy a product, what are the few things that we look for? We look for customer service, we look for reach, we look for network, we look for parts availability, etc., etc. So for a startup in a country like India, so big, it becomes very difficult, and in terms of even having monetary backing to scale to a large extent. They can start out, and of course the government is providing, the OEMs are giving the support, but that scale becomes a challenge. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be a consistent challenge that will last for a while, but until and unless these startups figure out a way, or they partner with somebody, they might become stagnant, because if I'm a transporter, I have my reach all across India, I would not want to get caught up only in one location. Now, if a truck or a vehicle breaks down in another location, I need to have that reach. And how do you build the supplier base? How do you build quality, the go-to-market strategy? So these are areas where I think we still have a lot to do as a nation. However, in terms of talent and the products that the startups are making, it's a notch above what we see elsewhere.
Balaji, do you want to comment on fintech startups?
As I already mentioned, like a lot of opportunities there. Like I just gave one example of how we collaborated with a fintech startup. But this is the acceleration. So many companies are innovating, and I think we, as part of NASSCOM, also we reviewed some of the startups working with you. I think it's a very exciting space to be in, with many companies continuing to innovate, rolling out many products. And as already mentioned, India is almost like even overtaken China this year in terms of fintech startups. So I think it's a very right prospect and great place to go on.
Thank you. Just 9 minutes. Can we open up the floor for a few questions, please?
When the market is down, we are looking ahead towards a possible recession. How do we keep the innovation engine running? Because we'll be more focused on cost optimization, and it becomes a challenge. And so, how do you see low-cost innovation as an option, and how do we build that into an organization's culture?
I think every time there is a challenge, that's when the opportunity opens up. Anytime like we have had a challenge like recession, some innovative products or say something has come because there are a lot of problems to be addressed, and the opportunity immediately opens up for innovation. I think that's where innovation in fact thrives. Every problem is an opportunity for innovation to thrive. If you look at any points in history, like the dot-com bubble or 2008 crisis, a lot of innovation has happened during those periods. I think similarly, I think this time also we'll have many innovative products coming out, because every time there is a challenge like this, there is an opportunity, and innovation is at its peak if you observe historically.
Yeah, I mean, if you, the question you should ask is, during recession, if you don't innovate, what is going to happen to your sustenance after that? How are you going to be able to recover after the recession gets through? Because these are cycles. It's like us, when we have education, whether we are sick or whether we have a bad year or not, we don't stop, we don't drop out of school. I think we just continue. So as organizations, you have to look at innovation not as a discretionary spend. It has to be the base of your sustainable growth, or it has to be a part of your strategy. Otherwise, you will never have a competitive edge. Someone else is going to do it. And the moment you start thinking about it, someone else would have already ideated and would have matured that idea. So recession or not, my honest opinion, and this is something that I truly advocate for and will keep pushing, is innovation has to continue. That is going to be the bread and butter of any organizational sustainable growth. If you don't do that, we have a lot of examples of organizations that have not thrived after taking an accelerated start.
Actually, I do see this connected with one more panel that we had, actually skilling for future on how academy and industry can work together. Because when I go back, take a step back, innovation, when we see the population of India and when we see how far with innovation, obviously we are lost. Can't this be, innovation cannot be taught, okay, because it's something, it should come. Can't we think at grassroots level? Because to be very frank, not much of the people know what is a patent. Okay, what is innovation? Can't we start it at college level or school level? I understand very clearly. Thanks for the partnerships that you are doing with universities. But should it not be a subject like moral values, moral science we have? Innovation also should be something that should be taught at school level.
No, absolutely. And I think you bring up a very, very valid point. Because think about it, your coffee side chats always is about us as a country or a nation and our culture, right? How do we change our culture? How do we become different? And we as human beings, I genuinely believe, when our personalities and our societies and our cultures are built, it takes generations to change. And in order for you to change, you have to start at the grassroots. If we have to change the way we think, the way we do work, it's not going to happen for all of us sitting here. I think, it takes a little bit longer. So when you look at starting at grassroots, what tends to happen is, look at our education system. We are very specialized. Most of you went to school, you either studied a stream. It could be sciences, maths, arts. If you look at most of the foreign countries, it's very general. They have home sciences, they have a lot of generic subjects that they bring because it's a culmination of these experiences that help you to cultivate and get ideas. So I think if we are to thrive, because I think India is on a right path now. In the past, when you look at capability centers, we were always known as back office, right? Today it's not the case. Today we are leading in innovation. And now that we have gotten this platform, it's about us really capitalizing. That means making sure that everyone understands the importance of innovation, and the school system should provide the facilities for people to innovate. Not that you say only focus on doing one thing or sports. Nah? That balance has to come, if you ask me. So in my honest opinion, it's a very, very valid point you bring up. And I think we should, all of us, look at how we work to cultivate that from, starting in the beginning itself.
And just to add on, if you look at the recent times like hackathon, even a kid knows what a hackathon is. I think societally, socially, we have also been, like the government has been conducting hackathons. We have hackathons done by private companies and corporates. So that culture is seeping in even at a younger age. But what you said is spot on. Like I think innovation has to be brought in as a culture right from young age. But definitely we see that happening currently, at least in the recent past.
But the one thing we also must remember, and I will add on this, is it's easier said than done. Nah? If it was so easy, I'm sure we would have all done it by now. And one very important aspect that we have to remember is until and unless you give visibility, you reward and you recognize these good things that are coming out, people will not be motivated to innovate. Yeah? So I think it's on us as leaders, on organizations, to make sure that we actually recognize, reward innovation coming. No matter whether it's large, small, it doesn't matter. We have to start somewhere. So I think that's also very important as we start at the grassroots to reward, recognize this innovation, and give them those platforms.
Maybe one last question.
Yeah, hi. Where do you see in the banking industry or insurance industry, service-prone industries, where do you see the innovation still lacking? And where do you think these industries can improve and take it on? Thank you.
Yeah. If you look at where do you see the innovation lacking? I think primarily if you look at payment, it's already addressed. I'm just thinking through as I'm answering. If you look at the ONDC, the commerce part is addressed. But I think still, I think we have other areas. I think UPI is one. I think UPI is already a hit. I'm just trying to think which area I can think of. Payment. I think mostly it has been done. Maybe on the payables, receivables side, I think that is one area I can immediately think of since you asked. We can look at more innovations there. Because most of the other things have been put to rest, at least to a certain extent, be it, say, the processing of payments, or if you look at, say, even the open digital commerce, those are some areas where we have made headway, but I think maybe accounts payable, receivable, collections are some areas where innovation can happen.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you so much.
Just to conclude, based on this discussion, open innovation is one of the best ways to build business technology, technical expertise, IP products, and much more. And moreover, we have discussed about the various ways to develop this open innovation ecosystem as well. One is about the single platform and a group of well-matured startups and establishment of more ecosystem enablers and creation of open innovation marketplaces, dedicated incubation and acceleration program for open innovation, launching joint open innovation programs for partnering with other countries, and catalyzing the innovation programs, the open innovation programs. So based on all these things, the open innovation report, whichever corporate wants to adopt on open innovation, I mean, this report helps you with a playbook as well, which will help you to move on the step-by-step journey on this open innovation, which I'm sure it will be very helpful. So I encourage you all to download and take a look into it. Many thanks, and once again, thank you so much, panel, for helping us with your insights. And
Thank
I
you
look
for
forward to
having
work
us.
with
Thank
Kumar.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.